Hi guys, welcome back to Transits and Tactics. We are in a wonderful, wonderful week. But of course, there's always like a wonderful and then the flip side of that. And this week, it's all about our intuition. So we're in the transit of gate 57. It's the gate of intuitive clarity and sometimes called the gentle. And so we're going to dive into this just to give you, as usual, a quick overview of the themes, the main themes. One of the important things that stood out to me is that this is the gate of the right ear. We're in a way listening from our most primal mammalian instincts this week, and so this is you can be more attuned to sounds, to the sounds of people's voices, to literally even white noise. So watch yourself, how in harmony you are acoustically with the world around you, because if you feel like there's something that is taking you off balance acoustically, you can take action. You can change that by even putting some sort of music that you like, just like bring it back into harmony, because the acoustic thing, and for some of us we're more sensitive than others, but this week we could be all very, very sensitive. So that's just kind of one thing. But the other thing is that it also can let you sometimes intuitively sense certain tones in how people communicate with you, certain pauses even, and have the intuitive hearing of whether they're authentic or you being manipulated. That's so cool. It's really, really interesting, because not everyone has this energy, naturally. If you do have 57 defined, you might find that this is the key for you, or you might find that you can get like really triggered by sound. So this is one of the ways for you to be more aware. And so what's very interesting here, it's also about the fear of the unknown, because intuition is a very in the now thing. Even when the intuition is referring to the future, it is something in the now. And this is why it's a primal instinct. It's always in the now. It's always attuned to your environment, to vibrations. That's another kind of sense that to watch out for. And in the now is the only truth. And as a splenic person with a splenic authority, I can tell you the life is only the true in the now right now. So this week we are drawn to focus more intentionally to what's happening right now, rather than fear of something ahead, of the future, of the unknown in the future. And that fear can drive you to make provisions, or make spontaneous decisions out of that lack and out of that fear, rather than following your strategy and authority. So of course, at all times, but especially in these sort of scenarios this week, your strategy and authority will ensure that whatever action you're taking, and by action I even say, I could even say, I said the word say, but I could even I mean even what you say, because saying something is also an action, right? So whatever comes out of you now, make sure you enter it correctly. How do you do that? By following your unique strategy and authority. This is where human design, it's not a dogma. It's not something like, a set of rules you have to live by. But trust me, when you start building your awareness and making your decisions and tapping into your unique decision-making authority, things change. You can enter experiences that will teach you something, but they're not incorrect for you. And I think that this is really huge, because out of the fears, and especially of the fear of the unknown, the confusion, the fear of the unknown, it's the biggest driver for most people. And there's different aspects of our designs that can contribute to it, so it's not really just like one thing that always determines this, but then you have these other things, and especially with anything based on your spleen, and 57 is your splenic gate. So the shadow is always going to be about various primal fears. And this is really cool. Now we have the sun grounding us in the gate of shock. But don't be afraid of this gate. A lot of people hear a gate of shock and they're like, oh my God, this is actually a really, really good gate, because it can assist leaps into something with a lot of depth in it. And you open up, new revelations, new things. So you might have these intuitive insights that are very, very profound this week, and then can show you the way into the future or towards the well-being, because again, we're talking about the primal instinct that is concerned with our fear of survival, and survival is always about your well-being, your immune system. This is really, really important to keep this in mind. And of course, if you have an emotional authority, this is not the week for you to be spontaneous. It never is. But this week is specifically because it's such an in the now energy. If you're an emotional authority person, if you have a solar plexus center defined, wait out, get that emotional clarity before you make a decision to act. Spontaneous. Anita, I can see you nodding your head. Anita, you're an emotional projector, so you know all about living through these waves all the time. So this is the kind
Yeah.
of, and I think it's tough sometimes because especially, we're talking about the intuition that wants to come out. And if you have certain gates, and this is gate 57 has actually 3 harmonic gates. So it can be part of 3 different channels, depending on what you have defined in your design. It's really interesting. Like I have a defined throat center with gate 20. So right now I am in this channel of brainwave, and I can just, spit out my intuition without being invited to it. So wait until you're invited to share. Just because you know something and sense it doesn't necessarily give you the right to say it out loud, because it could reveal something, like it could just come out in an appropriate moment and just get you in some sort of trouble. Sometimes not saying it is so much better than actually saying it, because it's not really need. There's no need to shock people into your revelations. Sometimes if you're invited, then they will be open to this. And this is like, as projectors, we know, this invitation energetically is so important when we give our insights, when we give our advice, right? If you have gate 34 and you have a defined G center, identity center, then the theme of a channel of power at play. And what's interesting about the channel of power is it's really fast moving. It's like act in the now. It's a very in the now channel, but it is fast. So again, if you perceive something as, threat, there's this fear of the unknown, anything like this, you might want to be spontaneous. You might want to act fast. But the only place really where it's really good to have those reactions is sports. So if you're playing sports, go ahead. But in real life, slow down a little bit. This is why this gate is called the gentle, because you need to focus on the gentle, intentional approach to everything in the now. There are a lot of things that can push you into spontaneously doing something, but it's not out of the right place that you're taking this action. Be gentle to yourself. Gently does it. That expression is really true throughout this experience. Also, gate 10 can form, if you have gate 10, which is also on your G center. If you have that gate defined, you will be defining the whole channel of perfected form during this transit. And there is a lot of awareness of beauty or lack of beauty in your life with this, one of the themes of this channel anyway. So you might find like rearranging your furniture around your office. By the way, great time if you have that gate, have a look how your backgrounds look on your videos. If you're happy, but maybe you can make it better. So this cool thing about how can you intentionally make something more beautiful, bring some plants into your indoors. You don't have to do any of that, but maybe you can focus on things like composing music or writing poetry or just writing, right? Anything where your intuitive voice and intuitive knowing can be put into artistic form, that could be your week. So so many interesting energies to tap into, and I'm really looking forward to exploring, because this is, while we're recording this is just the first day. The transit just only started, and we never know how. I sometimes find that we record something in the beginning of the transit without yet experiencing it. As again, splenic person living in the now, and I'm a 1-3, I need to live through all these energies to really know what they're like. So this is just like a little overview warning, and it will be interesting to explore it. Anita, how are you feeling about this transit?
Yeah, I love this energy because the 57 is the fear is of the future of what's coming next. It's very easy to dramatize about that and worst case scenario it, right? But the truth is it can be heard, it's acoustic, it can only be heard when you're quiet. Not overthinking, not over emoting, not buying into fear as such. what's happened is, as society, stress has become our comfort zone. So we're constantly in a state of being agitated, actually, which is what these gates suggest. But in the nature of these energies, that gate 51 is designed to agitate you back to balance, back to your G center, back to your knowing of your love and direction for you. So when you're feeling insecure about the future, the 51 is there to support, to say, hang on, you're in fear, you're out of balance here. You won't ever see things from fear or opportunities through fear the same way as you see them through your energetic and mind, body, and composed balance, right? So it's very brilliant, because as well as that, it's understanding that what happens with this is you feel the fear, or the anxiety and about the future, and your mind immediately starts jumping in to make excuses for it, to justify, to understand it, to doubt your intuition. So it's like working this, to me, is, and it is in the integrative channel. So it is something that you can use your decision strategy to confirm your intuition, right? You can say, ooh, is that actually a yes for me? You can actually question your yes, no, to reinforce the intuition rather than the fear of doing it, right? So and when you look at what's going on around us, the transits at the moment are really highlighting where you're feeling overwhelmed, where you feel that everything is going against you, almost stuck, that nothing is working out, based on fears that you're going to be rejected again, based on old rejections, old hurts in your work, okay? And Mars is coming in now. We're coming into a big energy where you, the block is, the emotional block is that you don't want to let go the hurt. You're holding on to it. You're holding on to maybe the resentments because you feel it protects you. But actually, this energy cuts through that emotion and helps you see the clarity through it. So this is what we're really doing. We're on the big picture, we're really looking at how our emotional insecurities are blinding us to what we need to do moving forward. And this energy, the 51, cuts through it like a knife, like electricity. It goes straight through it into your intuition. So you're going to have hugely intuitive insights, ideas. So give yourself the opportunity to be quiet. Don't jump into the crisis of that 51, because the crisis is a distraction, right? We see it all the time. You just turn on the news and you see how many people are trying to distract you from what they're doing by creating chaos over here. And you're kind of going, oh my God, you're in the chaos. As opposed to that 51 in balance says, yes, the shock can be good. It can be a surprising shock. I remember a friend of mine, or a colleague of mine, I didn't know her. I was just publishing my book at the time, and I was doing a launch with it. And she literally came up to me from nowhere and said, I'm giving a talk tomorrow to a bunch of lady entrepreneurs in town. Would you like to take 10 minutes or 20 minutes of this talk to, and I was there, what? You're actually offering, because like these opportunities were like gold to be invited to these places to do a talk. So it was the shocking surprise of, oh my God, things can work out, and do work out when I realign with my G, with my direction, my actual direction. So it's just to realize that the juxtaposition is happening, and this gate 51 and 57, they're both pointing to the G center, as well as the throat, as well as the other centers. There's a place here where manifesting, usually it's when you're quiet, when you can sit back from the chaos or the crisis and see what you really need to come out of it, that you can detach from that crisis and actually act on your intuitive yes rather than the no. It's really cool energy, and it's the biggest problem with society at the moment is the uncertainty, is the lack of clarity about what's coming, and not knowing. like last week, we saw where the fear of our intuitive or feminine skills came from. We were lynched in the past for for having these intuitive skills, right? Now we're realizing whether or not you were lynched in the past, now is the time to start trusting.
Always, it is always the lesson, isn't it?
Mm.
You know what I really love about this next 6 days? Something that I experience all the time because the splenic authority is my authority, but spleen it's a primal organ, right? So it gives you these physical sensations exactly like the animals, warning you of danger of not. So it's like the hair going up on your back, goosebumps or hair standing up on your arm, sensations, metallic taste in your mouth. Everybody has them slightly differently, but watch out because your intuition is going to speak to you. You can hear it, but also because these sensations, these vibrations, they're going to be showing as physical sensations in your body. And I know that, and it's really amazing because what you Anita just said, the mind interferes. It's like on the outside of us, and news is a great, and especially news channels, great example of how we are dragged into the crisis without a need for it, right? And we have control. Switch off that news channel. That's all you need to do. There's too much noise, but we also have this kind of noise in our heads with our mind, and the mind is always hooked up on the not self. It's really important to understand you can't stop it, so there's no need to fight it or feel bad about it, but just to acknowledge this. And so as a splenic person whose intuition is in the now, it's always very quiet. It really is. It's not even, sometimes people say it's like a whisper. It's not that it's a whisper as such, but it is, you just know. But then the mind jumps into it and it starts questioning and it starts saying, yes, but, and it starts giving you all the reasons to either, contradict your yes or support or contradict your no. So what I have in my personal way, how I experience this physical sensation is the taste. So things either feel, and I know it, and it just feels sweet. And I know I use this word sweet, and it's not even sweet like sweetness of the candy, but it's like if you had a really, really good meal and you just have this satisfaction in your mouth, your mouth is happy. That's the kind of sense with the yes. And with the no, there's a metallic taste in my mouth, and underneath here, it all gets very kind of like tight and metallic. And I know I know it's incorrect. So the mind can say, hey, on paper, it's perfect. But my throat says it's incorrect. And what I've learned over the years, and the more I do it, the more confident I feel, is just to say no or yes without explaining why. Without explaining why. And it's really a power. This week we get to exercise this power. We get to exercise to say no without falling into the trap of fearing for the future and saying yes so that we can provide for any kind of worst case scenario. Because that's
Mm.
going to be a tendency. And it's
Yeah.
again emotional, so if you're emotional, this is two different, like this is like parallel dimensions. Living with emotional senses and listening to your intuition. Intuition is cool. It's non-emotional.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's just to know about it gives you so much power, because to know about it is awareness. The spleen, we're going through all these splenic gates in the last few weeks. It's all about awareness and intuitive senses. Like we had gate 18, where it's like correct or incorrect, realign things. Last week, the 48, knowing the depths, trusting the depths, not feeling inadequate, and now we have this again, trusting that in the now we have that desire. By the way, just one thing, I don't think I mentioned this. Because of this knowing that comes, and you can kind of be very quick in assessing situations internally, and so you can't come across as you have selective hearing, or like people will tell you something to be like, already I know what you're saying to me, and you don't want to listen, or you can come across like you're not paying attention, on others can come across like this. But this is what's behind that. It's just internally there's already a sense. So if you feel like somebody behaves like this, don't get upset with them. you know this is just, it is what it is this week.
Mm.
And with yourself as well. Just understand that this is, be gentle. I think be gentle to others, be gentle to yourself, be gentle in your pace this week. And that is when you're going to be intentionally in the right place.
Yeah, I would agree. And what's happened, you see, is because as a society we're afraid of emotions, we don't interpret them correctly.
Yeah.
Whether it's fear or whether it's excitement. I mean, if you're excited, you can jump into trouble just as easily as you can in fear. And you're kind of asking yourself a week later, oh my God, what was I thinking? It's just as blinding. But here the big thing is to get to know your fear, befriend that fear.
Mm.
And I'm going to put a link in the recording of this. But you have to ask, this is a natural physiological response in your body is fear, right? It's a natural alarm, right? And what people make the mistake of is they try to eradicate it. They try to not be afraid, to deny that fear is there. And the more you deny it, the more it escalates.
Yeah.
So the question is, you need to ask is, am I in mortal danger? Because 99% of things that we worry about with this energy are not true. However, we're moving into a very fast moving manifesting energy where the bigger planets are moving from Earth and stodgy, and it takes time into, we can very much have a self-fulfilling prophecy with these spheres moving into the next couple of years if we're not careful. So we need to watch that. So am I in mortal danger? And the second thing is, where energetic tuning forks. When, this is all about sound. This is about resonance in the body. As Juliet said, it's resonating in your body or it isn't. And when we're tuned into fear, our whole system is seeing through fear. When we know that we're not in mortal danger, we can reset our energy and tune back into our calm, composed space. That's where the intuition comes. So, and the intuition is often the flash that says, which is the 51 when you think about it, it's the flash that says, no, do this instead. Because fear brings us up shit creek without the paddle, and we're constantly going against the flow of life. And that impacts prosperity, relationships, everything. When we allow that quiet, that gentleness to rule us, we can really work everything together. Common sense. All our senses are on the same page, right? Common sense. And the mind supports that as well, So it's something we can learn to harness, and a skill that we can master. It's just so exciting.
Beautiful. And I have nothing to add to this. This is the perfect way to wrap up today's episode. Guys, we will see you in the next episode of Transits and Tactics.